Hey guys, welcome to another episode of True Crimes and Weird Times. I'm Kim.
And I'm Ashley.
And this week, I am going to be telling you the story of the Jamison family, a disappearance that the more you learn about it, the more questions you have. It is insane.
A little bit of true crime, a little bit of weird times?
Absolutely.
All right.
So this story was actually sent in by a listener.
Hey, thank you.
I know, this is a great one too. On October 8th, 2009, 44-year-old Bobby Jameson and his wife, 40-year-old Sherilyn Jameson, loaded up their 6-year-old daughter Madison and the family dog Maisie and headed out from their home in Eufaula, Oklahoma. Presumably, they were going to look at or actually purchase a 40-acre plot of land that was about an hour away from Eufaula near Red Oak, Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
And they had been thinking about buying it. They had gone up the day before and looked at it.
Mm-hmm.
And they were actually planning to move this storage container that they already owned onto the property to live in it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if they were doing like a tiny homes thing or what their plan was essentially.
Maybe they were going to live in it while they build a house?
I don't know, but that was the plan.
Okay.
However, they didn't actually tell anyone where they were going or what they were doing on this day, or even that they were planning to move necessarily, because
Okay.
Sherilyn had a son from a previous marriage named Colton, and she had seen him 2 weeks before the disappearance, and he said that she had never once mentioned the fact that they were going to be moving to him.
That's strange.
Yeah, everything about this case is strange.
Oh, we're
so
starting early. Got
buckle in.
it. Okay.
So they load up their truck, they head out, and after a couple of days, no one had seen or heard from them. So the family was reported missing, and a search was launched. 8 days after the disappearance, on October 16th, a local hunter discovered the family's pickup truck abandoned in Latimer County, Oklahoma, which is a bit south of the town Kenta.
Oh, okay. I've never even heard of any of this.
Yeah. I looked up this city, and it's about halfway between Eufaula and Red Oak, which is where the property was. I assume the property they were looking at was in the general vicinity of where the truck was, but I couldn't find an exact location of this property.
Okay.
Inside this truck, they found the family's dog, Maisie,
Oh.
who was severely malnourished. I mean, she was alive, but she'd been in there for at least a week.
Poor baby.
And they also found both Bobby and Sherilyn's cell phones.
Oh, it's right. It's 2009, isn't it?
It is. This is a more recent one.
Yeah.
They found Bobby's wallet, Sherilyn's purse, a GPS, some maps, and an envelope containing $32,000 in cash.
Whoa.
Now, on Bobby's cell phone was a picture of Madison in the woods, taken the day before the disappearance. And if you know anything about this case, you've probably seen this photo. And we'll post it on social media, too.
Yes. I just pulled this up, and she's, like, super cute.
She is adorable. She's got blonde, curly hair, and she's super cute. But it's speculated by a lot of people that the picture was not taken by Bobby.
Oh.
Because Ashley's looking at the picture, but she's got her arms crossed.
Yeah.
She doesn't look particularly happy.
She doesn't look like she's smiling. It kind of looks like she's smiling, like if you were to say cheese and a little kid goes, that kind of face.
Yeah.
But I can also see it as not a smile.
So because she doesn't look super happy, she's not even looking directly at the camera.
Right.
She's kind of looking off to the side. There's been a lot of theories that this picture was not taken by Bobby, and, you know, who knows where it came from. Personally, I'm kind of undecided on it because it could just be like a, hey, say cheese. She didn't really want to have her picture taken.
Yeah, my kids do that all the time.
Yeah. So, but you can look at that picture and see what you think. Does she look like she's distressed? But either way, that picture was taken the day before they disappeared.
Okay.
Now, the truck was totally fine. It ran. It was still locked.
Mm-hmm.
It had no signs of an accident. So, and this truck wasn't found just like on the side of the road, on the side of some major highway. I found a picture of the site, and it's basically just like a clearing out in the mountains.
Oh.
And there's like a gravel driveway up to it. You can go further on past it, I think, up a hill to another home.
So does it look like they parked it, like it was just parked, or like it was abandoned?
A lot of people think that it looks as if they were trying to leave and someone had them stop. They stopped because someone wanted them to. Like I said, it's just kind of a clearing. I don't know how you would determine necessarily that it looks like someone made them stop.
Yeah.
But it's just sitting there. It's sitting there with all of this stuff inside and the dog inside.
Yeah, that's really weird.
And then nothing else. Also in the truck, police discovered an 11-page hate letter from Sherilyn to Bobby. And in the letter, she was saying that he didn't care about his daughter. She was listing all these things that she hated about him. She called him a loner and a hermit and saying she wanted a divorce.
But she was in the car with him, right?
She was. According to Sherilyn's mother, this wasn't actually super uncommon. Both Bobby and Sherilyn struggled with mental health issues, which we're going to get into a little bit later.
Okay.
And Sherilyn was big on writing things down and leaving little notes around the house, stuff like that.
Okay.
To get her feelings out, I assume.
Okay.
So missing from the truck was a briefcase and Sherilyn's handgun.
Oh.
She always carried her handgun with her in the truck, and they did not find it there. Police immediately get together this 300-plus person search party, and they just go to comb the surrounding area, and they come up with nothing. They don't find footprints. They don't find evidence. They don't find anything. So it's not long after that the case just goes cold.
Well, yeah, there's nothing to go on.
There's nothing. This family has just disappeared, and then they found the truck. Until November 16th, 2013, which was 4 years after the disappearance. A couple of hunters stumbled across the skeletal remains of all 3 family members, 2.7 miles from where the truck was discovered.
Did it say how far out the search party went?
So there wasn't actually a lot of information about the search party.
Okay.
One of my sources said that they went out 5 miles, though.
Okay. Then that doesn't mean that they'll find any bodies, because it's actually really hard to find bodies.
Especially out in the mountains. This was wilderness.
Yeah.
Like, they had ATVs, they had drones, they had people walking, but it's still October. It's fall. There's leaves on the ground.
Leaves everywhere. And under normal circumstances, I mean, somebody could look in a certain spot and then somebody else can come up behind you and trip over the bodies. I mean, it's just,
right.
It's a gamble.
Yeah. So they weren't found in the initial search, and that's exactly what the sheriff said as his comment on it as to why they weren't found is because, there were leaves. It was the middle of the woods. It's, you can't see everything.
Right.
But the 3 bodies were found side by side, all in a row, face down.
Ugh.
Because of the extreme state of decomposition and because the skeletal remains were incomplete, autopsies couldn't really determine much.
Yeah.
There was no cause of death. They couldn't do any tox screenings. They didn't have any tissue to check for any, damage or anything like that. They did find a small hole in Bobby's skull that was initially suspected of being a bullet hole. But police eventually dropped that theory and decided that it was more likely to be from animal activity.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. It's been 4 years.
Which would explain, why the skeletons were incomplete.
Right.
They also found, some ripped clothing and stuff nearby.
Yeah, but it's hard to tell with that.
Also, at some point in the investigation, I'm not exactly sure when they found it. I assume it would be closer to the beginning when they did the initial search.
Oh, okay.
But police did uncover some security footage from outside the family's home of the day they disappeared. And in this footage, they are loading up their truck to leave. And they're described as being trance-like. They aren't really speaking. They're just making trips, like 20-something trips out from the house to the truck.
Huh.
And they don't speak to each other. Sometimes they just stop and stand there, not doing anything. And sometimes they're not even carrying anything to the truck. They just walk out to the truck and go back. Now, I could only find a short clip of the video online. You can't find the full version as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
Possibly it was the full version and it was just
Yeah,
quick, but
I'll see what I can find and post.
yeah, so it's one of those cameras that only records a still frame every second or so. So it's not like a fluid video where you can watch them walking around, and it's very, very poor quality. So the fact that they can even tell that the family wasn't speaking to each other was impressive because I couldn't even make out their faces enough to know if they were talking or not when I watched it. And as far as, standing there and being trance-like, I couldn't tell that either because it is the still frame type video.
Yeah.
But, police are specialized in it. They know what to look for. I don't. So since no cause of death could be determined and no further evidence was found, the case remains unsolved to this day.
That's spooky.
However, there is so much more to this case, and it just keeps bringing up more and more questions. There is so many theories. And the sheriff has actually said that most investigators would love to have as many leads as they have, but they can't rule any of them out. They can't prove any of them.
Yeah.
And there's just so many possibilities.
This is my kind of story.
And we will get into the theories right after this quick break.
Yeah.
Do you like the macabre? How about ghosts and goblins? Are you interested in lucid dreaming and conspiracy theories?
Do you like to laugh? Then come check out our podcast, Sisters in Strange! Join Lauren and Chelsea in our comedic take as we delve into the strangest of topics, along with our personal stories of the paranormal. Ooh!
So, a little bit about Bobby and Sherilyn. A few years before their disappearance, back in 2003, I believe it was. I didn't write it down for some reason. So if I'm wrong, I apologize. But it was a few years before the disappearance. Bobby had been in a car accident that left him with chronic back pain, and he was unable to work. So he was on disability, and he struggled with depression on and off with the back pain and stuff. And then Sherilyn suffered from bipolar disorder.
Oh.
And she had been described medication for it, but she was well known that she didn't take it like she should. She would sometimes just stop taking it. She wouldn't take it regularly.
Oh, yeah.
So she really wasn't medicated like she should have been, which of course caused bouts of depression and manic episodes, at least one of which led to a suicide attempt.
Oh.
Which after her most recent suicide attempt is when her son actually went to live with his dad.
Okay.
Since both Bobby and Sherilyn were on disability at the time of their disappearance, family and friends have absolutely no idea where they would have gotten $32,000.
I'd say.
It's presumed to have been a down payment for the property that they were going to buy. And that makes sense if they were going there to buy it, but where did they get it? Which we'll talk about it a little more when we get to our theories. But that's one of the bigger questions of this case is where did they get $32,000? And like I said, they thought it was there to buy the house, but some people suspected that it was actually drug money.
Well, I was going to ask if maybe they were selling their own drugs.
Well, this leads us to the first of many theories in this case, which is that they were murdered in a drug deal gone bad.
Yeah.
Some things to point out about this theory are that both Bobby and Sherilyn were thin and looking kind of sickly right before they disappeared. And, of course, this led people to think, oh, well, they've gotten hooked on crystal meth. However, when police searched the Jameson home, they found no trace of drugs and no evidence that there was ever drugs being sold or used in the house. But the area they were found in has a well-known history of having high drug activity. And it's just not a great place to hang out. It's kind of sketchy around there. So people think that money was brought there for a drug deal. Family and friends, however, claim that Bobby and Sherilyn never would have taken their 6-year-old daughter
That's what I was thinking
to a
of.
drug deal.
Right.
But just to point out, people who are on drugs don't always make the best judgment calls. Maybe they were on drugs and they took their daughter to a drug deal. But then why were there no drugs in the house? Why were there no drugs in the truck? And why was everything left in the truck?
Yeah, even the money.
Even the $32,000. If I'm going to kill somebody over drugs, I'm also going to take their 30 grand.
Yup.
And then there was also the paranoia, which made people suspect that they were on drugs. The couple seemed overly paranoid in the months before their disappearance, which obviously is a common side effect of drug use.
Yeah.
But also, there's the mental health aspect too. Mm-hmm. But also, it could be from the fact that their house was haunted.
What?
Or so they claimed.
Well, you got my attention.
So let's talk about that haunted house. This is the Weird Times segment of this episode.
Yeah.
Bobby had apparently confided in a local pastor that there were evil spirits in the house. He also admitted to reading his wife's satanic Bible that she had supposedly bought as a joke, and she kept it on the coffee table.
Hilarious.
Right? Look, a satanic Bible. Isn't that funny?
I can't say anything. I bought a Ouija board for a Halloween decoration. Okay. But
Sherilyn had a good friend, Nikki, and they both had bought these Bibles together as a joke, saying they were, witches. And they even supposedly did seances together.
oh, wow.
But Nikki says that it was just for fun, and Sherilyn seemed to take it a little more seriously than she did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe they brought something into their house.
Which, speaking of witches, another weird thing was that the storage container that they were going to move and live in, on the side of it, Sherilyn had spray painted a message that said, "Witches don't like it when their cats are killed."
What?
According to Nikki, this was because Sherilyn believed someone in the neighborhood had been poisoning her cats. 3 of her cats had died. And she thought someone was poisoning her cats, and this was her way of just getting back at them or scaring them off or trying to get them to stop.
But if you're going to move, why put that?
Yeah, this is your future home, although
Yeah.
I don't know if they'd planned that at the time. But, so there's, the witch aspect, but let's get back to the evil spirits in the house.
Yeah.
He had called this pastor, told him that there were evil spirits in the house, and he asked this pastor where he could get, quote, special bullets
What?
to shoot a few of the evil spirits who were living on his roof.
Uh-huh. Oh, no. See what? They were actually aliens that landed near their home. The goblins.
That's right. They were the goblins, probably. So, yeah, he was...
Wow.
Where can I get special bullets for these evil spirits? Also, I've been reading my wife's satanic Bible, and I'm gonna try and perform an exorcism to get them out.
Yeesh.
Also, Madison had started talking to an imaginary friend who she named Emily,
Hate that.
and Sherilyn believed that the imaginary friend Emily was some sort of malevolent spirit.
What is happening?
But Nikki, the friend that I've mentioned a few times, she actually agrees. She's like, look, they weren't quite as crazy as you think it sounds like, but that house was definitely haunted. She says you would go in there and you would just feel depressed and just awful. And there was just like this weight when you were in the house, and it was not good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's really not good if you have someone depressed and on pain medication. Someone who's bipolar and had depression and suicide attempts. Mm-hmm. I mean, if that's a thing.
Add in possible drug use.
Yeah.
And then, let's just say for argument's sake, the house was actually haunted.
Yeah.
It could explain why they're willing to go live in a storage container.
Yeah, I would too.
Out in the forest.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. Maybe not with stuff spray painted on it.
Right, yeah, that's...
Oh, no.
Decorations, whatever. And that wasn't even the only message. She had spray painted several things on there. That was just the weirdest one.
It's just weird that she spray painted it at all.
Yeah. So now let's talk about the rest of the theories on what could have happened, because there's so many more. The simplest explanation as to what happened to the family is that they just wandered off into the wilderness and got lost, couldn't get back. Possibly Madison ran off and they were chasing her.
Trying to find her, yeah.
But they were less than 3 miles from their truck. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, this is heavily wooded area, But even still, temperatures at that time never fell below 40 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
And while it was raining some in those days, it wasn't enough of a rainfall that it would affect people that badly. It wouldn't have been like flooding and you couldn't escape. And
okay.
It was just raining.
But the rain itself could be cold.
It could be, but even with temperatures still above 40 degrees and you're still 3 miles from your truck.
People have gotten lost in woods less than that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be far away to get lost.
Yeah, but that's still weird.
And then there was the fact of the body's position, all face down, side by side.
Yeah, that was deliberate. There's no way.
I can't imagine that they would all, if they had gotten lost in the wilderness and died out there, I can't imagine that they all died at the exact same time in the same position.
Yeah. Even if they were together and died and animals were taken off with pieces of the bodies, there's no way they would be lined up like that.
Right.
Naturally.
And I wouldn't think they would all, go at the same time. One of them would probably go first, and then I assume the family would have laid them out, tried to bury them, tried to do something.
Yeah.
I don't buy that theory.
Yeah.
That theory is the least plausible to me.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next one. The next theory is that it was actually a murder-suicide by either Sherilyn or Bobby.
Yeah, maybe.
Because of the hate letters.
Right.
There were also apparently notes that Sherilyn had been writing and leaving around the house that were angry, or she would even write to the spirits, like, "Get out of my house, Satan," and leave notes around the house.
Yeah.
And, they both had mental disorders.
Right. And she's had her own suicide attempts.
She has. Also, nothing was stolen out of the truck.
Right.
Also, her gun was missing.
Mm-hmm.
But
and they never found that, right?
They never found the gun.
Huh.
If it had been a murder-suicide, you would think they would have found a murder weapon.
Yeah.
Right by the bodies. Somewhere. If they found the clothes and the shoes. And why would they not have found a gun? Or a knife or whatever?
Yeah, something.
And also, did whoever did it line themselves up to be right next to the other two when they killed themselves? I mean, it's possible.
Yeah. Well, and I know they found a small hole in Bobby's skull.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, they would have found a similar hole in Madison's skull, I would assume, and Sherilyn's skull.
You would think so, yeah.
I mean, assuming that's where they shot them, which would make sense.
Yeah. But I guess it's possible if it had been Bobby. Say that's why he's the only one with a hole in his skull, if he had shot them in the chest and then himself in the head. But then again, you can't shoot yourself and then throw a gun.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, had he shot himself in the head, the gun would have been right there with him, and it wasn't. So that's a possibility. But again,
it's just a strange one.
How would that happen? And why would you take the family dog to kill everyone and then leave it in the truck?
Yeah, see, I forgot about the dog too. Huh.
So,
you're blowing my mind. Sorry.
I know. So let's move on to the next theory, because we're not done yet.
Oh my gosh.
The next theory is that the family was actually murdered by Bobby's 67-year-old father, Bob Dean Jameson.
What?
So this one has a lot of kind of in-depth with it.
Okay.
6 months before the disappearance, Bobby had filed for a protective order against his father.
Oh.
He had allegedly threatened to kill them on 2 separate occasions.
Oh.
Once in November 2008 and once in April 2009.
Oh, that wasn't even that far.
No, it was pretty recent.
Yeah.
Bobby also claimed that his father had tried to kill him by running him over with his vehicle on November 1st, 2008.
Oh my God.
His dad was
What's his deal?
Yeah. Well, Bobby claimed that his father was a very dangerous man who was involved with gangs and prostitution and meth.
Huh.
And he said in his petition for the protective order that his whole family was terrified for their lives. However, after witness testimony, a judge actually dismissed the petition without granting the protection order on May 18th, 2009.
What?
But that's not all.
Of course not.
Bobby was also suing his father at the time of the disappearance.
Shut up. Oh, man.
Basically, Bobby would occasionally work for free at his father's gas station with the promise of half the profits of the sales from that night.
Mm-hmm.
But he was never paid what he was owed, or so he claims.
Okay.
The sheriff who was investigating the case actually used the word scammers when referring to Bobby and Sherilyn. I assume it's because Bobby had previously sued 3 other people after a car accident in 2003. But according to his family, there was never any payout from these lawsuits that would explain the $32,000
Okay, that was
in the
my
truck.
question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bob's family, which is Bobby's dad, claim that Bob wouldn't have been capable of killing Bobby and his family because he was actually in pretty poor health at the time of the disappearance. They do acknowledge he was in a bad place and he was not a good person.
Yeah.
But apparently there's mention that he was even in some kind of care home or hospice at the time. And he actually died 2 months after the family disappeared. So there was no evidence that he was ever involved. And there would be no way to interview him, obviously.
Yeah.
And to me, if you're so bad off that you pass away a mere 2 months later, I also don't see how you could drive 30 miles out into the wilderness and kill an entire family
That's true.
and then get home and no one know about it. I'm not saying it's not possible.
Yeah, but what are the odds?
Yeah. Next theory.
Ah!
Sherilyn's mother, Connie, believes that the family was killed by a cult.
Whoa.
After the case was featured on an episode of Disappeared, Sherilyn's friend Nikki was called by an anonymous woman who said, "Hey, so I used to be in this white supremacy group, and they had this hit list book of anyone who had wronged them or was trouble for them that they wanted to get rid of. And sometimes when she remembered a name from the book, she would Google them. And this would frequently lead her to missing persons cases.
Okay.
And that is apparently how she came across Bobby and Sherilyn's case.
Convenient.
And Sherilyn did have Native American heritage, but there's really no evidence. The only evidence of this one is this one phone call that was received.
Yeah.
So, and there's not really a lot of cult activity past 1993 in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So,
That anyone knows of.
I'm not saying they weren't taken out by a white supremacist cult. But I'm saying it's probably unlikely.
But, I mean, if, maybe it wasn't a white supremacy group. Maybe it was some kind of cult she got herself mixed up in.
That's possible.
If she's performing seances and she believes people are poisoning her cats and she's talking about being a witch, I mean...
Yeah, I mean, witchcraft is considered its own theory in this case.
Yeah.
That she got mixed up with something crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't include it as its own case because it's just circumstantial. I mean...
Now, before anybody gets on my case, I'm not saying witchcraft is a cult.
Right,
But just looking at her past experiences, her mental illness, it's very easy to have gotten mixed up in something just crazy.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, like you said, with the mental illness, not really being in a good frame of mind to make good judgment calls on what's okay and what isn't.
yeah.
But like I said, there's no evidence of there ever being a cult. There's no evidence that witchcraft was involved. There was no pentagram drawn around them in the dirt or anything. I mean, it could have been. It was 4 years later. But let's move on to talk a little bit more about the drug theory, which is our last theory that we're going to talk about.
Okay.
So my biggest questions about this is, why was nothing taken from the truck?
That's the big one for me, too.
If it were a drug deal gone bad, wouldn't they have taken the money?
The money, possibly the phone.
There was a GPS in the
Yeah,
car, which
you're
were
right.
expensive then.
Yeah, it's really weird.
And not only that, where did the money come from? You don't just find $32,000. You don't just go get $32,000 in cash.
unless they were selling their own medications.
If
I mean,
that's
she wasn't taking it properly. Who knows if he was?
Well, it depends on what exactly they were taking, too. I
That's
mean,
true.
like, who's going to pay you $30,000 for Wellbutrin? Like,
Yeah. That's the only thing I can think of, unless they were
selling meth somewhere else?
Yeah.
Because, no, like I said, no one found any evidence in the house
Yeah.
that there were ever drugs in there. But how else do you explain the odd behavior and the trance-like state loading up the truck and the weight loss? Although, if their house is haunted, that's pretty stressful.
Yeah.
But also mental illness. I mean,
yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. The mental illness itself.
that can give you a drug-like appearance if it's not being treated.
Yeah, if they're not taking care of themselves. Absolutely.
But again, if it was from mental illness, not from drug use, where did the money come from? How did
Yeah.
they get $32,000? And if it was a drug deal, why would they take Madison?
But like you said, people who are, they don't make good decisions.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. They would totally not make that judgment call if they were on drugs. But their family claims that Bobby and Sherilyn, despite all their shortcomings, were amazing parents, and they never would have put Madison in harm's way.
Yeah.
They would have done whatever they could to protect her before they even thought about protecting themselves.
Yeah. I also have a theory.
Let's hear it.
And hear me out.
Remember, Ashley is our Weird Times person.
Okay. Nobody's going to like it. What if it was aliens?
Go on.
Okay. And this is just coming off the top of my head. I can't remember everything. But like, okay, abduction stories. Trance-like states. Maybe they had some lost time. Maybe that would explain the weird things and hauntings and stuff that they claimed that they had in the house. They were out in the wilderness, and this is where people, like, I was talking about the missing 411. There's a lot of cases where people wonder if maybe they were abducted by aliens, and it's out in the wilderness, out in the middle of nowhere. I know it sounds super crazy, but like,
I mean, not any crazier than the house being haunted or cults coming to kill them.
them not finding the bodies and then suddenly the bodies are there.
I did come across one person that pointed that out. They're like, well, what if there weren't any bodies to find when they did the initial search? Which is possible.
Yeah. And even if they were murdered, I mean, maybe they just didn't dump the bodies yet.
Right.
But like, I'm just saying, guys.
And it's so hard to know, like, there's so much about this case that you can't figure out because, like I said, some people think it looks like the truck was forced to stop. And if it was, there's no signs that they were forced out of the vehicle. But they could have been. They could have been forced out of the vehicle at gunpoint, and because Sherilyn didn't have her gun. Or maybe they took her gun.
Maybe they took her gun. Maybe it was something like, you know, like you see those videos where people pretend they're hurt or something on the side of the road and they try to abduct people that way.
There was a theory about child trafficking that the family was taken in order to get to Madison. But if
that's a lot of work.
Yeah. It's out in the middle of the woods. And, I mean, she died too. So
yeah, that's a lot of work for a kid.
Why would you not take the $32,000?
Yeah. I don't think sex trafficking was it.
And since it was just skeletal remains, we don't know how they died.
Yeah. That's super frustrating.
Yeah. And they were all... The fact that they were all lined up face down is the part that makes me think they were murdered.
That feels deliberate.
Yeah.
All three of them together lined up.
And the fact that there were no murder weapons nearby. I just don't believe that Bobby or Sherilyn did this.
And for the dog to still be in the car.
Exactly. Why would you take your dog, not only to murder, suicide your whole family.
Yeah.
If it was a drug deal.
And not kill the dog too.
Yeah.
But
I wouldn't take my dog to a drug deal either. I mean, this is not a big, like, German Shepherd that can help protect you. This is a little small dog, like a terrier or something. It's a little small dog.
Okay, so even then, yeah, that makes it even weirder. So clearly the dog wasn't for protection. It's just, I don't know. I can't piece it all together. It's just,
Nobody can.
So many weird things.
You can go down the rabbit hole on this case for hours. I did. And I condensed it down to the ones that I felt were the most plausible.
Yeah.
And just the factors that I felt like were the most important or the most persuading, I guess.
Oh, okay, yeah.
With more, like, maybe that was a factor.
Yeah.
Like, their house probably wasn't haunted. But it does speak to their mental state. Was it drugs? Was it mental disorders? But then why go buy 40 acres of land and put a storage container on it just to get away from your home? No one knows why they wanted to move out suddenly.
Yeah. The money's weird. The storage container's weird. Everything left in the truck is weird, plus the dog. I mean, for so many strange factors, it either sounds like mental illness, the fact that someone found them and killed them seems strange, just out in the middle of nowhere.
Right. If it wasn't drugs, who would want to come murder this whole family in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah.
And then not even take any money?
Yeah. Or paranormal. That's all I got.
Yep, pretty much. If it was mental illness, which seems the most plausible theory to me.
Right.
Mental illness. If it was that, what killed them? How did they die? I would say Sherilyn was less stable than Bobby, but the leading theory is that Bobby would have been the one to do it.
Yeah.
However, like I said, there's no murder weapon. You can't shoot yourself in the head and then go bury a gun.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, though. If she was that unstable, what if she did kill them? She shot Bobby. She could have strangled Madison. And if she's that mentally ill, she could have literally just laid there and died with them.
Yeah, that is a possibility. She could have done that. But why leave the dog in the car? How did she get her whole family out there? What excuse did she give them to get them to go out there and then kill them? I mean, there's so many unanswered questions in the case. We could just go on for hours and hours about it.
Yeah, I was going to say, every theory you have, has some compelling things to it. But then there's this one weird thing off to the side. It's that doesn't make sense.
Right. Everything, it's well, this lines up. It looks good. It looks good. Wait a minute. Nope.
Yeah.
There's a hole. And you can't find that missing piece for any of them.
Well, that's going to ruin me for a week.
But if you guys have any theories, or if you want to let us know which one you think it was, or what you think happened,
aliens,
let us know.
Our Discord server.
Absolutely. Make sure you join our Discord server.
I'm pushing it so hard because we want to talk to you guys.
And it's
do. It's real time chat room. We can all just talk.
In case you don't know, Discord is an app you can get on your phone or your computer, and it's like a chat. You can talk to people. You can join our server. Me and Ashley are in there, and then fans and different people. We talk to you. We want your opinions. We want your case suggestions.
And we can just discuss. We can just literally talk in real time. And we're letting you know because some people have asked what it is.
Exactly.
So,
and we want to talk to you about these cases.
Oh, man.
I want to hear all of your opinions.
Yes.
I want to know what you think about the Jamison family disappearance.
Because we know other people have opinions that we did not talk about, and we want to know them.
In fact, the listener who sent me this story texts me every Wednesday when she listens and tells me, this is what I think was going on. This is and I love it. I look forward. Sometimes when I have a good story, I'm like, hey, I can't wait for you to listen to this one and see what you think about it. So yeah, we want to hear that from all of you guys. That's it, I guess. See you next week.
Thanks for listening.
Like us on Facebook at True Crimes and Weird Times Podcast.
Follow us on Instagram at True Crimes Weird Times.
Email us your stories at truecrimesweirdtimes@gmail.com.
And if you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe and leave a review.
Bye.